It was probably one of the most brutal, heart-wrenching thought processes that I've had to experience.
So often we don't have the full breadth of understanding and knowledge of what is going on.
F it, none of that stuff matters. Like, you just love this person. I promise you, at the end of life service, none of that shit matters. And welcome to Love Always Self. I'm Shyra.
Hi, y'all. I'm Karista, and thank you so much for joining us on this episode of Love Always Self.
Hi.
And welcome. How's your day going?
It's going great. I was like, wait, you talking to them? You talking to me?
Well, I was kind of talking to them, but you're the one that can respond. So I hope you guys are having a great day so far.
Very true. Very true. It has been a very interesting few days, and I feel like I say that every time we come in the room, but with our new recording schedule, we actually go a little bit longer between these episodes and recording them, and so we have more to catch up on, it feels like. Mm-hmm. So
lots of reacclimation each time.
Yeah. Lots of retesting of the gear as well, so I'm not used to it all for some reason. Anyway, so today we want to have a little chit chat about regret. Mm-hmm. I have come into a few experiences recently. I like to say that they come into your awareness because you need to go through them. You need to learn them, right? But I came across a situation recently where I had to go through the experience of regret. And I realized all the things that I was regretting. And it was brutal. It was probably one of the most brutal, heart-wrenching thought processes that I've had to experience. I don't want to go into too much detail because it would reveal private information, but the most I can say is that I realized that me not letting go of feeling a certain way about a certain individual and holding on to that feeling, then something happening that required me to realize that none of that shit mattered in the first place. Mm-hmm. And that was one of the toughest moments for me to have like a self-realization in that way. Now, I have been fortunate enough to be given the opportunity to address that, right? But not everybody gets that opportunity.
It's very true.
And so, without further ado, I really do now firmly believe that it would have just been as easy for me to let it go, address whatever needs to be addressed. You know, people refer to certain things as closures or needing closure or whatever. I don't really feel like it was necessary for me to have closure with whatever situation. Like, I don't think that we could have come to like an actual resolve of that situation. But I do feel like I could have just let it go enough to like say, I love you. Mm-hmm. Whatever our exchange was during that period of time in our lives, it's in the past. It's not in the present. And the only thing in the present is love. Mm-hmm. And just let it be like that. Doesn't mean I have to BFF, whatever, but that's it right then and there.
I think that it's hard to have this discussion without also mentioning the power of forgiveness.
Yeah.
Because in this, it's not only forgiving that other person for the misdeeds that occurred, but it's also forgiving yourself too at this point in time. Yeah. That like you're forgiving yourself that you held on to this grudge. And I think there's, so often we get confused with what forgiveness means. So many of us consider forgiveness as, well, I'm letting go of the hurt that you caused, when really you are opening yourself up for to come into a space of healing. And it doesn't necessarily mean that you're saying that it was okay that
Right.
they caused the pain, but you're saying it's okay that you don't have to hold on to it anymore.
Oh, yeah. There was this, how do I put this? There was this thought process that I was going through. And because I work very hard on self awareness, I was actively recognizing it, right? Like I could tell that, well, what do you call that? The 3 stages of grief?
There's 7, I
Is
think.
it 7? Oh,
But
gosh.
but don't be confused. Like that doesn't mean that everybody has that same
Right.
thumbprint of going through the
Right, right,
same
right.
levels of grief.
No.
Like not everybody hits those different stages. Everybody does it differently. It's not in particular order. There's no like prescribed here's how you go through your
Yeah.
grief.
Yeah, no, this was just more along the lines of like the roller coaster of emotions that I was experiencing. And at first I went from shock to finding out the news. I went from shock, and then I went from shock to extreme guilt, and then I went from guilt to sadness and remorse. Then I went from that to irritation, but the irritation was with myself. And I noticed that I was getting irritated with myself because I was feeling guilty for something I shouldn't feel guilty for. But then at the same time, it was like, just let this shit go, you know? And then I went into this like overly abundant F it. None of that stuff matters, right? Like, you just love this person. Now what can I do? Right. And that was hard. That was a hard, like, and this went on for like 5 days. This was not a quick process by any means. There's still a lot of thoughts like floating around at the moment. And, you know, I'm still dealing with like some aspects of grief, but like, it's just kind of one of those things where I would hope that this experience moving forward in my life, that I don't allow myself to hold on to things that no longer serve me in that way. I'll say this, like the lack of communication that took place because of whatever situation that happened caused my inability to show up in a place of love and not realizing what was really going on. My empathy levels were extremely low because I was holding onto a grudge, right? And that allowed me to experience what I just experienced and feeling the grief that I experienced. So, or the regret that I experienced.
Granted, I know I'm coming from a place that knows more of the story than we are sharing with the audience.
Sorry.
No apology needed.
Yeah.
It's totally fine that things remain private.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's a respect thing. But, you know, I think maybe at one point you suffered from lacking empathy, but, and that was when there were a lot of unknowns as well. As soon as you learned the news of, you know, what was going on with this person, it was, you know, you definitely went through these different levels of different feelings, but you rose to the occasion and stepped fully into that place of love.
Yeah.
And so I don't, you were not without empathy.
Yeah. No, I don't. And I definitely don't think I was in that moment. Prior to that moment, though,
But
prior to
that's-
that knowledge, I'm
And
pretty
that's-
sure I was.
That's what makes it hard about these situations. So often we don't have the full breadth of understanding and knowledge of what is going on with the people that are around us that cause us hurt. And, you know, I just remembered a ways back when we, you know, I was telling a story about when I was traveling and there was a gentleman on the airplane that was, you know, really He was in his head about things, I guess.
Best way to put that.
Yeah. But, that just makes me think about we don't always know what's going on with people. And that can make it more easy for us to slide into that holding a grudge space. And when we have the time or are triggered to reflect on it, there are opportunities to do that inner work, that inner searching, that inner letting go. But at the end of the day, we're still human.
Yeah.
And we're not meant to know everything that's going on all at once with everybody that's around us, which is why I think it's so important, when we communicate with each other and we tell people what's going on. And, I know that in that friendship that you had with that person, there wasn't much communication. And it takes two for there to be that level of a relationship.
Right.
And so I guess what I'm trying to get at with that is still encouraging, that level of forgiveness that, and that understanding with you as a human, we don't always know. And so when we do become aware, giving yourself that grace and that ability to forgive yourself is so important.
Yeah. It is important. It is important because a lot of what I have just experienced, so, we could share this story with you guys to the best of my ability, and share that type of just thought process, right? Is that my hope for myself in the future is that I can walk into another situation, or if a situation occurs that has like a similar leaving the room with those types of feelings moment, right? That maybe I can have a little bit more of the ability to end something with love and not end it feeling the way that I felt.
Yeah.
Right. So such a punk.
We have a guest making an appearance right now. It's Webster.
I mean, he literally just like came from the floor on the other side all the way over to you, knocks over the tissue, like decides that he's going to come on. It's like out of nowhere.
Yeah. Thank you, buddy.
Yeah. You don't do that with your mom. I don't understand.
She needs it right now.
Right?
She needs it more.
Trying to hold back tears. You go to my friend. Anyway, so punk. I love that dog. Yeah, so what was I saying? It is one of those things where like I just hope that for those of you listening, for those of you watching, that if you have this kind of a situation in your life, best described as holding a grudge towards somebody else, I'm not encouraging you to initiate a conversation and befriend somebody that's done you wrong and like all that stuff. I'm not saying that. What I am saying though is that can you give yourself some grace and some compassion and the other person a little bit of both as well, and just let that go and not allow that to be the thing that defines your experience going forward. I feel like there's a lot of lessons in my lifetime, and I'm sure many people can relate to this, where feeling deceit in any kind of a relationship and then being able to overcome it, let go of it, learn from it, and then move forward and still hold yourself into a place of compassion, love, empathy, sympathy, grace, whatever. And I'm not saying that I'm not authorizing any type of thing in my life that says, yeah, come on in, do me wrong. That's not it. I'm just saying that like to be able to uphold myself and say that I can move forward in my life and hopefully have learned from this experience in that way.
I think that that's one of the beautiful things about forgiveness is you don't have to have that direct conversation with somebody. All it takes is having that conversation with yourself. You can forgive other people. You can forgive yourself. It does not require that other person to be involved in that.
Right.
It's again, we're clearing space with forgiveness. We're clearing space so we can heal, so we can fill that space with what makes us feel loved and is amplified by our love.
Right.
And it's interesting because I think we have this idea about forgiveness. Again, I know I'm repeating what I said earlier, but like we're saying what they did was okay. Or we're saying that the pain that is caused is okay. And that's not at all what forgiveness is.
No. And honestly, what sucks the most, in my opinion, is the fact that I allowed myself to only get to this place because something disastrous was happening. And I allowed myself to let go of all the feels and focus on love because something disastrous was happening. And that part is the part that I was mad at myself about the most. That's the part that I regretted the most. And I'm sorry I can't tell you guys the full story because you totally understand and you'd be like, oh shit, that makes a lot of sense. And so I'm kind of beating around the bush with how to explain this, but like it is one of those things where it's just like going through that type of an emotional crash. It doesn't have to come to that. Right? So if I could just be the lesson learned for you guys in this one instance, and just say that it's not worth it. It's not worth holding on to that. You don't even know what kind of like energetic blockages you're likely causing and harm you're doing to yourself by holding on to something like that. But if I could just give a little bit of advice, I promise you at the end of life service, none of that shit matters.
Yeah, 100%.
None of that matters. You remember the love. You cherish those moments. And then you support one another. And those that are impacted around you. And that's what you focus on. That's all you can do.
Guilt is a heavy weight.
Yeah. Hold on one second. Okay.
Guilt is a heavy weight. So is regret. We carry enough baggage with us around, in our lives, and what we hold on to as far as like those misdeeds and grudges and anger and resentment, like those all just add so much more weight to that baggage. And not only that, but if we haven't forgiven ourselves, allowed space to heal, we're going to keep experiencing things similar that bring up those same feelings. And, I think that is just adding to the encouragement to take time to reflect on any grudges that you guys have and really evaluate, like, what is the worth of that grudge? How does it serve you? Is it helping you really? Or is it hindering you from making more relationships, better relationships, and healing old ones, healing your relationship with yourself? So, take time to reflect on that, why you still hold on to them. Is it out of fear that you're going to be hurt again? Is it fear that you're never going to find love? What are the fears that are holding you back? And I just thought about too, like, does that resentment bring you comfort? Does it make you feel justified in your actions or your words?
Is it a cold blanket or a warm blanket?
So, at the end of the day, forgiveness weighs a lot less than regret and guilt.
Yeah. Letting go weighs nothing.
Sorry, freedom.
Freedom. She totally wanted to yell it.
I think I went into the red.
Mike Red. Oh my gosh, it's so funny.
Alrighty. Guess what, guys?
It is time for the collective card reading, y'all.
So we have one today.
We have one.
Today we are using Kyle Gray's Angel Guide Oracle deck. We've got 3 cards here. And I'll go ahead and flip the first one.
And I did look at them. I'm so sorry.
Well, but
I glanced.
We weren't looking at them to look at them. We were looking at them to adjust the color, which is still a little bright on here.
Yeah.
But we did our best, guys. I hope you can find forgiveness for us.
Had a power outage right before this recording. So
the first card that was flipped over is Strength and Guidance.
I haven't seen this one before.
If you are on audio only, please hop over to YouTube at Love Always Self. You can check out the cards that were pulled today, or that you'll see soon if you are on YouTube.
Let's see here. Let's see what Strength and Guidance has for us. This card is absolutely stunning. This card is purple, and as you can see in our room, we like the color purple. And purple brings a lot of abundance, and I'm getting the word clarity in my head for some reason. So your message, reading it straight from the guidebook. I'm not going to read the whole thing. Please be sure to, as we like to encourage others to go actually purchase these decks.
You can check out our Amazon shop on our website at lovealwaysself.com.
Yes, thank you. Don't underestimate the power of your soul. Just had this conversation earlier today. This is funny. You are a strong and resilient soul with the capacity to rise above any challenge. Divine intervention is taking place at this time. Whatever is occurring in your life is providing a real learning curve for your soul. It does not say that. You are becoming more and more aware of what will lead you to fulfill your purpose and what will divert you from joy.
Well, if this is an encouragement based on the story that you were telling us today, your experiences and your situation, as soon as we flip this card over, Strength and Guidance, like I felt like that was so deeply connected to forgiveness.
Oh, yeah. It always
like
is.
There's strength in vulnerability, and to, I don't know, reach that level of forgiveness, I think you have to be vulnerable too, whether it's with yourself or somebody else.
Yeah, that's very true. I agree.
I love this card too, because it's like the night sky and the cosmos are all like weaved together.
Yeah, it's like it's holding like waterfall.
It's
of
almost
cosmos.
like the night sky mixed with like an angelic realm.
Yeah, this is wild. You know, what's interesting is that I was thinking of when I walked over to we have like a literal stack of different decks that we use for these collective card readings. And this one was at the wee bottom. And I was thinking to myself, I feel encouraged by divine guidance, which is what had me choose the angel guide. So when I just read that, it was kind of like, that's
really spoke to you.
Yeah, that was like, oh, snap. Anyway, card number 2, please.
Well, and I was just thinking too, and, apologies about this, but because I talk with you regularly, I was thinking, it's almost like there's been different people that have been drawn into or back into your life.
Yeah.
That I feel, you've mentioned how you can relate to their stories and how they've progressed through their lives and the transitions that they've made. And I feel like they are people that are entering into your life to strengthen you, to lift you up, and to show you that what you want to do with your life is possible.
I 100% agree with that. There's the amount of divine timing and intervention that has occurred. And I'm going to say this because this is a tough one to swallow. But sometimes when you are pushed further towards your actual purpose, you are also presented with all the things that no longer serve you to make sure that you learn whatever it is that you need to learn to let it go so you can move on. And sometimes that's a really hard pill to swallow, and it might feel like a lot.
Mm-hmm. And like you keep getting pulled back.
Right.
But really, it's just a process of releasing. So you can, I just got this visual of like a slingshot.
Yeah.
It's like, it feels like things are pulling you back. And when really it's like the rubber band that's gaining more tension. So when you let all those things go that are holding you back, you pew forward.
Just pews forward.
Pew, pew.
That slingshot is legit.
So I think one final message for this card is, the people that are around you that come into your lives, maybe somebody is there to actually be a guide on some level.
Yeah.
Card number 2, raise your vibration.
I mean, this one speaks for itself.
I mean, again, I know I keep going back to this word, but forgiveness is a high vibration because you are stepping into that love.
Yeah. And if you needed to hear this, if the card didn't speak to you, it's time to move up a level. It's time to fly high. You may have experienced some setbacks or felt low recently, but that is behind you now, and you have the opportunity to light up like never before.
You can't change anything in the past.
Right.
What has already happened has happened. It is what it is. But you can change what happens in that next moment. You have a choice. You can continue down the same path that has you feeling heavy and, I want to say, neglectful of yourself and others. Or you can raise your vibration. You can step into that light of love. You can let go of the things that are no longer serving you, because those things are holding you down and holding that vibration lower.
And I do want to say this because I know that there is this like overwhelming sense that, the whole fake it till you make it thing, or like what people consider as, what do you call that? Toxic
Just
positivity.
be positive.
Yeah. So what we're referring to, I feel like, is not necessarily that. It is more along the lines of,
It's not negating those lesser or lower emotions. It's allowing yourself to work through them so that you can let go of them.
right.
So you can move forward. Again, so you can go through the healing process. Because if we keep stuffing stuff down, we're still holding on to it. We're still carrying it with us. So we're not letting go. We're not providing space to heal. And so you're right. This is not about always be positive. Like, this is, taking time to reflect, taking time to forgive yourself, taking time to go through the emotions that you're experiencing, whether it's, grief or pain or anger, and which are also part of the grief feelings. But it's allowing yourself to move through those and reach the other side too.
Yep.
And in that same step, taking a moment to look back and finding gratitude for those tougher times that you did have to go through.
Yep.
Okay.
Card number 3.
Card number 3. Holy love, y'all. Like, this is the only way to end this spread. Like,
I'm only laughing because it's just like, these have never been wrong. Never. Not once.
We've only pulled the raise your vibration card before. The other two are new to us.
Jeez.
Like, holy love. What does that mean? To me, that means love in its purest form, without attachments, without conditions. It just is.
Yeah.
Oh, lay it on me.
Yeah. I'm gonna read the first few sentences of the standard message. There's an extended one, and I'm gonna go ahead and read at least the first sentence of that. You are blessed to receive this card today, for it shows you are being surrounded by loving energy, and the cup of your heart will be filled until it overflows with goodness. On the extended side, angels of love are gathering around you in awe and celebration, for you are finally willing to remember how loving and lovable you are. And heaven is guiding you to see that you deserve loving relationships, loving experiences, and loving acceptance from the world around you. Yeah. It was interesting to me, unless you have any final thoughts on that, I'm going to switch.
No, go ahead and switch.
Sorry. We normally do it a lot better than this, but it's cool. It was interesting to me going through the experience that we've been referring to today. There was a lot of being brought together with past relationships. And these were not small relationships in this part of my life. These were very big relationships. These were very family feeling, right? And I was reminded about all the good. I was reminded about all the joyful moments. But what surprised me the most, because that part didn't surprise me, but what surprised me the most was finding out the impacts I'm still making on those individual lives, even though I haven't spoken to some of them in like 20 years. Mm-hmm. I had no idea the trajectory of a single moment would take someone else or even myself. And that part alone was pretty awe-inspiring. And so sometimes when we say even the smallest moment can carry the biggest weight, we mean it in that way, right? Because you don't know. You're not there to always see it. But then sometimes it comes back and it presents itself to you and it tells you exactly what happened. And that part's pretty wild.
I think that is a great segue into our happy and kind news stories. Yay. Because it doesn't take a lot to spread a little kindness and a little love. Sometimes it does, but sometimes it doesn't. Yeah. And, you know, we don't know the impact that we're having on other people when we take a moment to help somebody in need.
Yeah. Very true. Very, very true.
Okay. I had to pull up my laptop, guys, because, you know, memory. And we will link these below. Yeah. But I found a couple of stories that really brightened my heart. Sorry, it was a fuss.
You were going to hate editing this episode.
No, these parts are easy to cut out. It'll be a great bloopers episode.
You got snot bubbles and flying fuzzies, dude. A jumping dog.
Yeah. Like, nose running. Like, a little bit of everything. Alrighty, so we're moving on to some good news stories. Yay. So little bits of kindness. We always love to hear these types of stories. I love reading these. They really just warm my heart. Sometimes I even like get a little teary-eyed, you know.
The warm and fuzzies.
I do. Like, I do not hate having to find these at all. But if you find one in your local area and would like to share, I would love it if you send them our way. The email address that you can send those to is contact@lovealwaysself.com. Yeah. All right. So first one is about a simple act of kindness between two strangers. Oh. So I thought this was funny because this story or this situation occurred at the Atlanta airport, which is the same airport that I had my holiday singing spree story when there was a fire in the terminal. So that was that was kind of funny. Anyways, there was a woman, an older woman, that had just gotten to the airport. And right before she arrived at the airport, she had actually fallen. She was visiting her son and her granddaughter in another state. And so she fell and injured her knee. She said that she was having a lot of pain. She was really struggling walking, but she had to get to her flight to go home. And so when she got dropped off at the airport, she had a heavy bag that she had to carry on a shoulder and then her rolling suitcase. And as she's limping through the airport, she found out, and again, Atlanta Airport is huge.
Massive.
And
Yeah.
one of the most busiest terminals or airports in the US. And so she found out, she was in like Terminal C, that she was going to have to walk all the way to Terminal like F.
Oh, no.
Because the trains were down that go in between the terminals.
No.
And so she was limping along, going as fast as she can with a bum leg. Turns out she tore her ACL, by the way. But she was limping along when a gentleman approached her and said, "I would like to help you," and grabbed her bag, which she said was very heavy, and then proceeded to escort her the entire walk, which took them over an hour to get to her terminal. And then, she was at first, she said that she was worried that he was going to take off with her bag. But very quickly,
I was going to say
the fears
Yeah.
subsided, and they had a delightful conversation as he helped her all the way to her gate, like to her, like boarding the plane. And not only that, he took it one step further, and as they were approaching her gate, he leaned over and said, "Hey, you're my mom." And she was like, "What? What?" And they got up to the gate, and he said, "Hey, my mom has an injury, and I need to know if she can board the plane a little bit early because she's having trouble walking." And so they allowed her to get on her flight early, ahead of the crowd. And yeah, isn't that a beautiful
oh my gosh,
story? Like I
pull the
love
heartstrings
that.
right out of my chest, will you? That's amazing.
It didn't take any money. It took a little bit of time, but what else are you doing at an airport?
Yeah.
Because you arrived 2 hours early for your flight. Like, you see somebody in distress, and rather than walking by them and saying, "Oh, that's not my problem," you stop and you offer assistance.
It just tells us that if we focus a little bit more on this type of information, you find out very quickly that there is a lot more good happening on this planet than what's shown to you.
100%. There's that service to others.
Oh man, that's. I've been spreading that theme with wildfire lately. Like I'm just like, please, everybody, do you acknowledge your service to self versus service to others? Like it is intense. Yeah.
All right. Again, these are linked below. And then.
Oh no, I see a picture of a dog. It's killing me.
The second one. Okay. So this family, they decided to adopt a pit bull from a rescue. It was a little 3-legged pit bull. And this family, they decided that they weren't going to have human children. So their animals are their children. Very similar to our families in a way.
Right.
You have your stepson, but other than that, Webster's
my baby. Yes.
And I have 2 fur babies as well. And they, after, I don't know how long they had the dog, but she was 3 years old when they adopted her. And then they found out that she was developing mast cell cancer on one of her legs. So the problem is you can't take a second leg to be able to remove the cancer.
Oh no.
And, one of the options was chemotherapy, and other cancer treatments, but those are like very, very expensive. I don't know the success rate, but the story that's shared is actually about a type of medication that was already FDA approved for dogs. And one injection has an 87% success rate
Excuse me?
of killing these types of tumors.
What?
And so I think this is amazing because this type of cancer in dogs is very prolific.
Right.
Very high percentage of dogs get this type of cancer. It's not common in humans, although it can happen. Majority of the time it is in children that this type of cancer occurs. But I was just thinking, like, how could this influence how we treat cancer in humans?
Yeah.
Because all this is one injection. There was no anesthesia. There was no long-term chemo or radiation that was needed. It was about the same price as surgery to remove the leg, but not as much as the chemo and the other cancer treatments. And to have an 87% success rate.
That's wild.
Isn't that insane? And so I just thought about like the potential.
You can do this for dogs. You can do this for humans.
We have an argument against why they don't, but that's for another day.
That's not on the good lose list. Yeah.
No, that's more conspiracy.
Is it?
I mean, it's logical.
Speaking of logical, please go ahead and hit that like, subscribe, notification bells if you are enjoying our content and would like to see more of it. We have social media at Love Always Self, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube Shorts, and Facebook. I was like, what is it called? We also have a website, link down below, lovealwaysself.com. And I did not say the W's. So I'm very proud of myself for that one. Thank you. And we hope you have a wonderful day. We are definitely having a wonderful day.
We do have an upcoming interview.
We do.
I don't know if it'll be next episode or the one after. It might be next episode, guys. We are having somebody come talk to us about breath work and human optimization. So his name is JJ Ruescas. I apologize if I butchered that. I will clarify how to say it when he's here with us in person. I'm so excited about that.
I'm excited right up to the studio setup part.
Yeah. I'm really thrilled about the fact that we get to actually do a breathwork class with him.
I know. Here's hoping I'm not out of breath by the time we record. So
I hear it's like a workout. So we'll see. We'll see.
Just a little breathwork joke. Just a little one.
You're so punny.
I know.
Alrighty, guys. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. We love you so much. And don't forget to love first.
Love last.
And love always.
Bye
y'all.
Everybody.
Hey, listener, thank you so much for taking the time to be with us in this moment. We hope you enjoyed today's episode, and we look forward to our next connection.
Don't forget to like, subscribe, and follow to stay notified of new content from Love Always Self. If you have any questions or topics you'd like for us to discuss, please hit us up on any of our social media platforms, linked in the show notes below.
I'm Karista.
And I'm Shyra.
And until next time, remember to love first,
love last,
and love always. Love Always Self podcast is meant for entertainment purposes only. We do not make any warranties about the completeness, reliability, and accuracy of the information presented in this podcast. Any action you choose to take upon the information in this podcast is strictly done so at your own risk, and we will not be held liable for any losses and damages in connection with the use of our podcast. Any and all medical concerns should be addressed with a licensed healthcare provider, as well as any questions that may be derived from the information discussed in this podcast.